Holy crap. Now that is what a real boss looks like, if you know what I mean. And I can't wait to jump in and talk about it. Of course, we're going to be discussing episode 11 of season 2 of Solo Leveling, one of the last episodes of the season, though I believe we do have 2 more, right? I believe so, correct me if I'm wrong. But okay, yeah. I mean, I knew the boss was going to be strong in this one, but I can't remember another anime where the end boss is literally so powerful that he slaps around insanely powerful S-ranks like this, like they're children. At the start of this episode, yes, of course, we continue where we left off, with the heads being chopped off. You see the waifu's head, again, as we saw at the end of the last episode, being chopped off. The other 2, of course, panicking, trying to get a sense of what's happening, but their heads also end up being chopped off in quick succession. A lot of headless people this episode, have to be said. And from there, yes, we do jump into the Queen raid portion of the episode. I have to say, it was good to see the Korean S-ranks show off some abilities and fight in a more proper manner, because we haven't really seen that ever so far. So it was nice to get a sense of what that looks like and get some decent animation of the different S-rank characters before things go to hell. It was interesting to see that Bayek apparently has some like beast sight, so he can like look super far down corridors or whatnot, and he was able to find where the queen was. But getting to the queen was no mean feat, because apparently, as they say, yeah, I mean, the soldiers and the defenders and the queen's personal guard were all S-rank level monsters. So this was no cakewalk, even though most of the ants were lured away, including, of course, the boss ant, prior to them entering the dungeon. Even the queen herself was not as weak as the hunters assumed her to be, which was all the better because, of course, that led our heroes, so to speak, get some more animation in, some more attacks in, some more fight going before inevitably Cha unleashes her ultimate, I suppose you can call it, and chops off her head to end the queen, let's say, semi-boss fight. To be honest, I would have liked to see a bit more sort of animation in terms of the other S-ranks. Like, yeah, we got to see Bayek's sort of beast transformation. I like that, appreciate that, that's cool. Remember that from the gacha when I played it. But it seems like Cha is the only character we really got to see unleash a sort of ultimate move in a way. The others didn't really show off in the same way. And yeah, sure, Ma and Choi and all the others showed off some attacks and, you know, they did something, but none of them unleashed a attack in the same way that Cha did, I feel like, which I feel is a bit of a missed opportunity, because I would have liked to see, let's say, Choi, you know, unleash like an ultimate attack, and Bayek unleash like an ultimate attack, and Ma, etc., etc. But I guess that they didn't want to spend too much animation budget on this lesser fight before, of course, our main man comes in for next episode, where the real fight begins. I did also enjoy the portion where the cameraman, the A-rank cameraman that joined them, gets some producer or whatever in his ear saying, hey, we got 80% viewership. Like, get in there, get closer. We need better shots, man. Of course, with 80% viewership referring to, I can only assume 80% of the country is tuning into this one broadcast, which is, of course, insane numbers for any television producer, so I can understand their excitement. But of course, I also understand why the populace as a whole would be, you know, kind of interested to see how this goes, because, you know, their lives may literally depend on it. But before our A-rank cameraman can get in closer, you know, Min steps up and is like, dude, let's stay back here. This is an S-rank boss, okay? Do you want to live or do you not want to live, okay? Just stay behind me. And so he does, which is good, because this cameraman is definitely gonna want to see what happens next, because things don't go quite as planned. I did like the shots as well of when Cha chops off the head of the queen. You know, everyone's celebrating. Well, classic mistake, celebrating too early, but nevertheless, they celebrate, they're having a good time. But then, of course, the boss actually steps in, and he is very mad. Very, very mad. I like how they portray the boss ant's entrance. You know, just Cha sort of collapsing to the ground. You can see her eyes, her expression, like just his smell, his presence. Clearly, this guy, or this monster, this boss is built different. Like, its power level is up there among the strongest of the strong. And, you know, the ant just walk past the S-ranks. Doesn't even care about them. Just walks past them. And I guess eats the head of the queen. Before then turning around and literally giving an epic beatdown on all these S ranks. I mean, treating them like they were nothing. I mean, literally, jumping in behind Cha 1 second, literally ragdolling her into the wall, probably rupturing all her internal organs, taking both arms off of, the big guy I forgot the name of, and again, just everyone being totally demolished in 2 seconds flat. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, yeah, I mean, I expected this boss to be strong, but just how tuned up they made him to be, I was not expecting. I mean, of course, I knew that he would be more powerful in the S ranks here, and only Sung could really be able to fight him, that he was shown to be such an immensely more powerful being than all the S ranks there, and how easily he just disposed of them. Now that was surprising, but enjoyable indeed. Of course, after the boss hand here, almost kills everyone in one shot, Min apparently had gone into hiding, having some sort of camouflage ability similar to stealth. He can't move during it, but it makes him invisible, so that's still fine. And he heals everyone, because, well, he is an S-rank healer, so he probably has some insane healing game going on, if you know what I mean. At that point, I can only imagine that the Ant boss gets very annoyed, right? I mean, imagine if you're the Ant boss, and you have to deal with these weak-ass S-rank hunters. They think they're all that, but to you, they're just weak little rubble to be disposed of. And then they get healed, and you have to waste your time dealing with these weak-ass people. No, he's not in the mood for that. So the Ant quickly sees through the camouflage, because, well, bosses are just built different, and literally pushes his arm through Min and eats his head. So that's awkward. Of course, Baek is very unhappy about this, but, well, nothing he can do. Another friend, RIP. Now, this brought up something else, because apparently the Ant, once it, I guess, eats brains, or I suppose the head of its victims, which I suppose is why it also ate the head of the queen, question mark. It gains their knowledge or memories, maybe. At least knowledge, I suppose, because it learns to start speaking and all of that, repeating Min's last words before his head got eaten off, and then after that starting to speak more properly. We also didn't see the heads of the initial 3 Japanese S ranks, so maybe he ate those too, who knows. But yes, once the healer is gone, then they are very fucked. I also like how the Ant very conveniently just ignores the A rank cameraman, because he's literally so weak, he doesn't even register he's there. It's like, he's just standing there in the background, just filming everything. But the Ant boss, I mean, I assume just looks at him like literally an ant, not being worthy of even looking in his direction. Then the Ant boss gets a chokehold on Baek, returning him to his normal human form. But as the Ant boss then says, hey, you killed our queen, you weak fucks. Well, that's implied. So just, killing your soldiers is not going to make up for that. Where is your king? Of course, the Ant boss then, wanting to have justice for his queen being offed, and not being satisfied with just some lowly soldiers, but wanting to kill the strongest being the humans have, aka their king. He then senses Goto outside, and surmises that might be their king, and then rushes off, letting the rest of the S-ranks stay alive. Now, for story purposes, this of course makes sense, because I would have been very surprised if they actually killed off in basically all the Queen S ranks, especially without Sung doing anything about it. But no, they get to live, because the Ant, justifiably so, views them as kind of weak cannon fodder, so why even bother killing them? You've already shown your supremacy, so let's move on. That entire set of scenes, though, I definitely enjoyed. And again, I have to just emphasize, I definitely had a fun time watching this boss literally go ham on these S ranks, and just literally mincing them into a pulp, and just establishing very, very clearly how insanely more powerful this boss is than any other S rank there, including Goto, as we soon see. Before we get into that though, if you are enjoying the video, please remember to like and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel, so thank you. Now we do cut to the Japanese then after the boss splits and goes out to find Goto, and then we have a conversation between Goto and, I suppose, the Japanese chairman, or the chairman of the Japanese Hunters Guild. And, well, he seems to be a bit of a douche. He is apparently using this raid as a strategic pawn to put Japan on top in terms of glory, that, they were responsible for beating the S-rank dungeon, and he is more than happy with letting all the Korean S-ranks die when the Ants rush back, knowing that their survival rate would be 0, because he knows that that would decimate and demolish the military power of Korea, and then orders Goto and the rest of the Japanese hunters to retreat. Even though he is not super happy with Japanese S-rank hunters dying, as long as Goto survives, he seems to be still satisfied with the end result, no matter what it might be. And, well, Goto and everyone else just obeys. So it seems that, at least Goto, I would assume, knew that this was the aim of the chairman from the get-go, and he willingly participated in this raid knowing that they would not have the backs of the Koreans in case things got rough. So not shedding the best light on Goto here, I have to say. He might be a bit of a dick too, not gonna lie. This also brings up an interesting question of, okay, so the plan, which I believe the Japanese fronted, like they came up with a plan. I assume that the chairman of the Japanese Hunters Association came up with this plan specifically because he wanted the Japanese S-ranks to play decoys, because he knew that then the risk would be very, very low for the Japanese S-ranks, especially with Goto around, and then purposefully pushed the Korean S-ranks into what he viewed as the most dangerous, going for the queen. And then, if it all went well, fine enough, I suppose, but if things went to shit, then he could utilize that to get rid of some Korean S-ranks, maybe even all the Korean S-ranks, and then go back for like a second round to then defeat the queen, and then claim all the glory for Japan. But, well, as we see, things will not end up like that at all. Because then, yes, the Ant boss finally steps in and confronts Goto. After, of course, he chops the head off of another Japanese S-rank. Then Goto tells the remaining Japanese S-rank to retreat as the chairman ordered, because he would just be in the way. The Ant then asks if Goto is their king, to which he says yes, which I suppose is a Chad move, but he is not strong enough to claim that, I would have to say, as we very clearly see. And once Goto says he is the king, the Ant boss, I suppose, well, powers up, goes Super Saiyan mode, in a manner of speaking, unleashes his aura, and that is when Goto has this familiar feeling. Yeah, like, this feels familiar. And of course, then they show Sung, and I suppose then just very clearly referencing that this Ant and Sung are at the same power level, both being obviously insanely powerful and strong. And then we see Goto's sword shatter. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean Goto was, one-hit KO'd and he's dead, but I suppose it very well might mean so, which would also underpin another related note I'll talk about at the end of this video. But it's not assured he's dead. I hope he's not, in a way, because I would have liked to see, Goto actually fight the boss, not just die instantly, because that I feel would be a bit cheap for someone of Goto's caliber. Would have at least liked to see him fight and show his skills a bit before dying off, because they've already showcased the boss to be, insanely powerful, so they don't need to do that again, I feel like. Then again, he might have died in that scene, but we'll get a flashback to his fight, even if short, at the beginning of next episode. As long as we get to see Goto fight a bit, I'll be fine with that. I just don't want to see his end be that quick and easy. I want to see him go out with more of a bang, if you know what I mean. Now, when Goto has this recollection of Sung, when the Ant releases, his aura and all of that, that made me think like, okay, of course, yes, it refers to him thinking of Sung as being as powerful and insane as this Ant boss, but also it made me wonder of, maybe this is also sort of referencing that Goto thinks of Sung more as a magic beast than human. I'm not sure, if, let's say, magic power and whatnot have different states, different sort of magic power resides in humans versus monsters. But if we flash back to, episode 5 or something of season 2, when the one A rank in the dungeon where Sung has to save them says that she's never felt this sort of magic power from a human before, again, I think they sort of try to reinforce this impression that, yes, Sung is not maybe fully human. Like, the amount of power he has, and maybe even the kind of magic power he has, is something more akin to a magic beast than a human. Though that might also just be because of the sheer amount of it, because no human has any right to have this much. Anyhow, though, that brings us to the final chapter of the episode, where Sung finally steps in. Because my question throughout all of this was, where is Sung? Like, it's getting close to the time where he should make his entrance, just saying. So Sung finally deciding to step in, and I mean finally, he couldn't have left it any longer. He steps in at the very last second when Baek and the others are about to be overrun by the returning ants. coming back to the queen. His shadow soldiers coming out of the shadows to shield the S ranks before Sung then, of course, says at the end, exchange, in a very Chad fashion. Now, I have many questions around this, because, okay, yes, I realize that they wanted to make Sung's entrance dramatic, right? They wanted to set this raid and fight up as Sung coming in at the last possible second to save, the S ranks there and take on the final boss. Because if he would have just joined the raid from the get-go, things would have been too easy and he wouldn't have been in this sort of dire situation that they now are in. But I don't exactly know why Sung waited this long to intervene. I mean, did he not have any knowledge prior to just when he intervened that things were going to shit? I don't know. This also raises the question to me, as I don't think we have really had clear information about this in the anime before, of how much info Sung is able to get from his embedded shadow soldiers. He puts shadow soldiers in 5 S ranks, right? Including Goto. But I don't believe we have any information, clear information, regarding whether Sung is able to get real-time info of what is happening around the shadow soldiers, or if he can only, let's say, sense if one of them disappears or something along that line. Because if the shadow soldiers are able to send, let's say, real-time info to Sung, then Sung should have intervened way earlier when Chan and everyone else were being beaten to a pulp. But if the shadow soldiers are not able to relay, let's say, real-time information, but Sung can only notice if, let's say, the shadow soldiers disappear when one of the S-rank hunters die on the other end, that may make more sense. Because if it is the case that Sung, as we also saw in the Demon Castle, where he didn't realize who the enemies were, but that they were taking out his soldiers very quickly, that might indicate that, yeah, Sung is only able to really know if the soldiers disappear or if they get taken out. And if that is the case and doesn't get any more info than that, then it would make way more sense that if Goto died in that quick moment before they are overrun in the Queen's Chamber, and then the shadow that Sung had in Goto's shadow also died, then of course Sung would definitely have known that, okay, Goto was taken out, and he is the strongest one there, so now I have to really just get in there because things are clearly not going to plan. And if that is the case, then okay, that makes more sense as to why he waited this long to actually intervene and get in there to fight. So I assume that might be how these soldiers work in terms of being able to give any information back to Sung all the way back in the city. If any source material watchers have more info regarding what exact information the soldiers, if any, are able to give to Sung, feel free to comment that down below also. Then again, Sung, if you would have just watched the TV broadcast, you would have also seen the S-ranks be thrown around like ragdolls. So if he just would have not been sitting on a big-ass roof monitoring his shadows and just watched TV with his sister and mom, then he would have also realized way earlier that, oh, they're having a tough time. Maybe I should do something? ? I suppose he will just go with that theory, though, and be happy he actually intervened at all in the end. I also have to wonder, though, regarding the TV broadcast. Just imagine, you saw the people cheering and having this yay moment when they beat the queen. But just imagine how despaired the public now is when they see the S-rank hunters being beaten to a pulp by this new ant boss. Just imagine their faces like, what's going on? I thought we won. Yeah, you better hope they win, because if not, you're next, civilians. I would have liked to see a shot of that, though I assume in the next episode, we will probably get a few shots of the, TV presenter or TV commentator, and then also the public reacting to our S-ranks being literally beaten on like no tomorrow. Finishing off though, yes, as I said before, I get they want to have this super dramatic entrance with Sung, but I feel like he left it as possibly late as he could have. Like, he literally couldn't have been a second later than he was to not have everyone die. And sure, I get you want to be fashionably late and really come in to save everyone in this heroic moment, which I assume also with the cameras there will really elevate you to a insane national hero level after this. But it's just, I feel like there's definitely some possibility of criticism here with you leaving it this long. Again, that is given the presumption that he had any information that would have made him inclined to intervene earlier. If not, then fine, fair enough. it is what it is. Also, I can just imagine next episode and the final episode that Sung, steps in. And just imagine that his sister and mom are like watching the TV and it's like, oh, Sung is there. Oh wow, Sung is kind of strong, huh? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I do hope we get to see that. I also hope we get to see more reactions from not only Jinna and Sung's mom, but also others watching this broadcast and seeing Sung sort of being this hero or being, well, the king, as the boss ant says. Because, well, that is literal catnip for us power fantasy enjoyers. Now, as a whole, to summarize and give my final thoughts on episode 11, I mean, I enjoyed it, Definitely nice to see the very intense ant boss throwing down and showing just how OP he is in comparison to everyone there. As I mentioned earlier, yeah, I would have liked to see Goto actually fight this episode and not just potentially instantly die. But if he is dead, then I hope they do give a quick sort of flashback to him fighting for at least, some seconds, showing off just a little bit before the ant kills him. Or if he isn't dead, then still just show him fighting a bit before moving back into the Queen's Chamber and Sung coming in there. Otherwise as well, I have to say the piano notes and music slapped in this one as well. Very enjoyable. I mean, every time the music note starts playing in solo leveling, you know it's going to be like, yeah, okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be enjoyable. It just adds to the intensity, and since you're so familiar with the music cue at this point in Season 2, you know that once the music starts, you're going to have a good old time watching some anime. As a whole though, yes, enjoyable episode. And I can't wait to see Sung actually jump in there and, well, do his thing, so to speak. Of course, they had to leave it as a cliffhanger. Of course they did. So we can only assume that the next episode and final episode are going to be absolutely epic. And I can't wait. That being said, what do you think of episode 11 of Season 2 of Solo Leveling? Hate it, love it, or have any other comments or thoughts on my analysis or the episode? Leave all those down below. And of course, if you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. Greatly helps out the channel. And check out my Patreon if you want to be extra supportive in the description down below. With all that being said, hope you have a good day. Keep watching anime, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.